All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking something that is incredibly deep, it's powerful, and honestly, it's super personal. We're looking at the very first wisdom from the classic text Al-Hikam, and trust me, it gets right to the very heart of our spiritual lives.
Just take a second and let that sink in. It's a pretty provocative statement, isn't it? It almost sounds backwards. You'd think feeling completely crushed after you make a mistake would be a good sign, a sign of piety. But this suggests that maybe it's actually a sign of a hidden spiritual problem.
So what on earth does that actually mean for us in our day-to-day lives, in our highs and, especially in our lows? That's what we're going to do. We're going to break this whole thing down, step by step. Okay, first things first. We have to diagnose the problem that this wisdom is pointing to. It's this subtle but really critical weakness that, honestly, a lot of us might not even realize we have. This right here is the core issue. It's that feeling you get, the one, when you feel close to God because you prayed really well, or because you had a disciplined week. Your sense of spiritual security is basically tied to your own personal scoreboard of good deeds. And this is just a brilliant way to put it. Imagine you're standing on a platform that you built all by yourself. As long as you keep building it well, you feel pretty stable, right? But the second you make a mistake, the moment a sin causes a crack in that platform, the whole thing shakes. And you shake right along with it. Why? Because your foundation was never God's unshakable mercy, it was your own very shaky performance. Now this is a super important point. This is not an argument against doing good things. Not at all. The trap is way more subtle than that. It's all about the difference between doing good and depending on it. This lays it out perfectly. Look, doing good deeds is essential. That's a given. We're commanded to do that. The problem, the hidden trap, is when your heart starts depending on those deeds. It's this quiet little shift where you stop relying on the Creator and start relying on the creation, even if that creation is your own worship. And that's the internal monologue, isn't it? We can all recognize that quiet, self-reassuring voice that builds our security on our consistency, on our discipline. The focus just ever so slightly shifts from God is merciful to, hey, I'm doing pretty well. And that, right there, is the danger zone. So, if relying on our deeds is a trap, what's the alternative? Well, this next part is all about shifting our foundation, moving it from our shaky selves to the one and only source of true, unshakable hope.
This table just spells it out so clearly. I mean, look at the difference. The person who relies on their deeds, what happens when they do something good? They get a little self-impressed, right? Secure in themselves. And when they make a mistake, they're crushed, hopeless, it's over. But now look at the person who relies on mercy. A good deed makes them grateful. They see it as a gift. And a mistake? Well, yeah, there's regret, of course, but it's immediately followed by a quick return to the source of forgiveness. One path is a roller coaster, and the other is a compass that's always pointing you back home.
You see, a healthy spiritual heart doesn't ignore its actions, good or bad. It just reframes them. Obedience isn't a reason for pride, it's a reason to be grateful for God's guidance. And a sin isn't a reason for despair. It's a powerful, humbling reminder of just how desperately we need God's mercy.
Okay, so this is where we get really practical. How can you know where your heart truly stands on this? The answer is pretty simple. Just listen to your internal reaction the moment you mess up. So listen to this voice. Does it sound familiar? This is the voice of someone whose hope was entirely built on their own performance. The second that performance fails, the hope just completely shatters. It's all about personal failure, and it leaves absolutely no room for mercy to enter the picture. Now, contrast that with this voice. The mistake is fully acknowledged. There are no excuses being made. But the conclusion is totally different. The failure is seen for what it is, something much, much smaller than the vastness of God's mercy. Hope is still there because, well, the hope was never in the self to begin with. And there it is. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. The first response is a crisis of the ego. It's all about, I've failed, my record is ruined. The second response is a God-centered realization. I failed, but God is the forgiver. It's a fundamental, game-changing shift in perspective. So let's bring all this together. What does the healthy, balanced path forward actually look like? This wisdom isn't telling us to just stop trying. No, it's telling us how to try correctly. This is the first pillar of that balance. Strive. Push yourself. Do your absolute best. But never, ever let that effort turn into arrogance or self-admiration. See your ability to do good as a gift that you should be grateful for, not some trophy that you've earned for yourself.
And here's the second pillar. When you fall, and let's be real, you will, feel regret. Own your mistake, turn back, and repent. But don't ever let that regret curdle into despair. Don't let your sin convince you that the door to mercy has been slammed shut.
And this is the final thought we'll leave you with. Really, this is the heart of the entire wisdom, all distilled into one powerful instruction. Put in the effort, perform the actions, strive for excellence. But place your trust, your hope, and your reliance not on the shaky ground of your own efforts, but on the infinite, unwavering mercy of God.